making the moves, get out of the way, we coming through. We got this, never stopping, and we won't lose, no we can't lose. Yeah! Are you ready? Yeah! We are the legends. We are the legends. Yeah! Are you ready? We are the legends. We are the legends.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a massive night of racing here on the V8 Veterans YouTube channel. We are here for round 2 of season 16 for split 2 here at Circuit de Jerez in Spain. I'm, of course, your commentator Hamish Munro, bringing you all the action here tonight for the V8 Veterans here. This infamous Spanish Inquisition of a circuit here in Spain, Jerez. I mean, it is a absolutely monumental track, one that I have waited for a long time to not only come into iRacing, but actually come into the Vets calendar. It is infamous for so many different moments. I remember two of the most iconic things I think I've ever seen around this track is Ayrton Senna coming through the pit lane when there was no pit speed limits in Formula 1, and he's just rapidly speeding past all the people in their pit boxes. But you know, if someone steps out, they get hit. Well, I mean, they get hit. And then the other one is the moment where, well, it's two moments really, but it's from the same race weekend. It's when Jacques Villeneuve, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and Michael Schumacher all lapped the same qualifying lap to get into the top 3 positions here at Jerez. And then during the race, when Michael turned into Jacques at one of the corners, ended up running wide and getting beached in the sand trap, and that cost him the championship. But a massive night of racing nonetheless here for the V8 Veterans, all brought to you by Logitech G and our other wonderful sponsors as well, Player One Sim Gear, Nova Simsports, and Parramatta Izuzu Ute as well. So big thank you to them for providing support to the series and allowing us to do these things. A massive welcome to everyone who is watching already and everyone into the chat. Jack Oz, Stephen Murray, welcome to both of you. Great to have you here. I have had a pretty good weekend, thank you, Stephen. I went to the movies on Friday night when I had to be designated driver for my mum who was going to an event. So she paid for me to go to the movies while she was out, and yeah, saw the new Spider-Man movie, and it was pretty good. So, but yeah, it was a good weekend. So I hope everyone else out there has had a great weekend as well, and a great week since we were last on your screens with Veterans action. I know Thursday night was a big race around here, and I know Friday night was a big broadcast as well for Split 3. Massive action throughout the whole broadcast. So if you haven't already seen the Split 3 kitchen, well, when you finished watching tonight's Split 2 broadcast, go ahead, go onto the channel, look up in the live section of the channel, and you will find this week's Split 3 broadcast as well. Also, make sure if you haven't already to please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell as well, so you're notified anytime we go live here with V8 Veterans action across Split 2 and Split 3. Of course, Split 1 is broadcast on the SimSpeed YouTube channel, so head over there if you haven't already and check out the Split 1 action as well from Thursday night. Evening to Will Munro as well in the chat too. And be sure to hit the like button as well, because and get into the chat, because the more the more, you know, I'm trying to think what the word is right now, but the more outreach we get and the more sort of back and forth we get between our viewers is great for the channel, and it's great for the series as well, because it'll actually push it to more eyes out there. More people will get to see what Veterans is all about. Maybe that'll also then encourage people to come and actually join the series and try and get in as a racer as well. So we have our 5-minute warm-up to start tonight, and then we're going to get into our race. But first we will get into our qualifying results just quickly, if they will actually come up on screen. There we go. Which I actually need to add Shannon McMillan to the drivers list because he was not in here last week. So we'll quickly add him in. Shannon McMillan coming in here as well. So Rick Sibra managed to get his car in pole position during qualifying with a massive lap time of 143.303 there. And then Shannon McMillan returning to the series. Of course, he missed round 1 last time, and he manages to get his car into P2 to start on the front row of the grid alongside Rick. And then we have Steve Grumley starting out at P3 here tonight. So that should hopefully actually fix the problems we were just having. Lorne McKee starts at a P4, just ahead of Paul Hayes there in P5, with Daniel Sheriff starting at a P6. Mario Reale found his way into P7 with Peter Verme starting at a P8. Darren Goosey will start in P9 with Paul Burns making up the top 10. Rick Vigg will start tonight's race at a P11 with Roy Clark in P12. Shane Randall will start the race out of P13, just ahead of Damien Cross in P14. Glenn Cobb will start at a P15, just ahead of James Boardman for Infinity Motorsport at a P16. And there goes the overlays. Hopefully we can get that all fixed and sorted so we can give you as much info as possible. I apologise that it has actually just happened then, but it might be because lone qualifying is finishing, and then we can get into the warm-up. Also a massive involvement, engagement. That's what I was thinking of, William. Engagement. The more engagement we get, the better it is for the series. Craig as well mentioning, and I do need to mention this, 150 races in vets for Darren Goosey. This is his 150th race, so a big congratulations to him for his 150th race start. Absolutely fantastic to see that he's been around for so long in veterans. So, we love to see it. So we are just currently waiting for the end of qualifying. I'm just going to see if I can get the overlays to work again. I don't know why they've just disappeared on me. They were working. We'll see if we can get them back up so we can continue running through the grid for tonight's race and get everything nice and sorted for all of you lovely people at home watching here tonight. So, but as well, guys, get into the chat. Let me know of any questions, any comments you have for me, anything you want me to know about the race as well. It'd be great to get that engagement going, get you all in there and having a chat amongst yourselves and with me, of course, as well. It'd be absolutely fantastic. But yeah, 150th race start for Darren Goosey. Really, really great to see. I don't know if any of the other drivers who are watching would actually know what their race start is or how many race starts they've had in vets. I mean, unless you're a new driver. Scott Weston, hello to you, sir. We're just finishing up here in the qualifying session at the moment. And then we're going to get into the warm-up. I was running through the grid, but now it's not showing up for some reason. It's being a bit rude, actually. The fact that it's not actually doing it. So we're just going to try and get it all nice and sorted out for everyone. Great to have Frog Leap Juice Racing as well in the chat. Fantastic to have you here. Also great to see more Frog Leap drivers in the series as well. I mean, Rick with a massive pole position. I mean, that's absolutely immense for him. So we will get ready for the warm-up. We are just awaiting our drivers to get out on track. I'm just waiting to see why the overlays don't want to work. Hopefully we can get them all nice and sorted for everyone at home. Any drivers heading out on track? John Gallen, Matt McMillan, Matt Monday, Will Munro, John Gallen, Stephen Pitts, James Boardman as well. Let's turn that down just a little bit. It's a little bit too loud at the moment. So we will, drivers just heading out there. We'll focus on the big man. 150 race starts here for Darren Goosey, as I will just attempt to get everything back up on screen. It's really loud. I'm just going to turn that down on my end. I don't really want it screaming at me throughout this race. There we go. That's a bit better. So yeah, massive night of racing here at Jerez. Of course, it was a massive race out at Road Atlanta. Paul Hayes taking an absolutely dominant victory. Hopefully we can see more drivers really just bringing the fight to him this time out here at Jerez, and hopefully we can maybe see a bit more of a battle by these drivers. I mean, just really attacking and assaulting him for the win. Which would be nice to see, of course. Nope, that's not what I want. I don't know why that's not locked. Apparently it wasn't, though. Gotta love when SDK just does not want to work for you, do you? Dave Arnie as well in the chat. Great to have you here, sir. We were just mentioning Darren Goosey's 150th race start in the Veterans. Why doesn't this want to work? It's just rude, honestly, that it just does not want to do this for me. So try and get this all nice and sorted out so we have as much info on screen as possible for everyone at home. I don't know why it doesn't want to work. Again, it's honestly rude that it doesn't want to work. But regardless, we'll focus on a couple of other drivers as well. Troy Sipple had a bit of an oh, there we go. They're finally up. Brilliant. Which ones are working and which ones are not? That is the that's the question, right? That one's working. Very good. All right, so we got that now. So Troy Sipple with a bit of a disappointing race, I think we could all admit, last time out at Road Atlanta. Just not really able to just kind of get up to pace and just kind of got caught up in some moments. So hopefully he can actually have a better time out in round 2. I mean, of course, he is now back in Split 2 after going into Split 1 at the end of the season, or last season, of course. But we will bring up the other qualifying results once again just to get everyone back up to speed here. So Roy Clark, so of course Rick Sibber and pole, Shannon McMillan P2, Steve Grumley P3, Lorne McKee P4, Paul Hayes out of P5, winner last time out, so a good start for him out of P5. I know he mentioned he was struggling for pace, but it's good to see he's actually been able to find some of that and really just fine tune it. Daniel Sheriff starting out of P6, Mario Reale out of P7, Peter Verme starting out of P8 with Darren Goosey in behind in P9, and then Paul Burns making up the top 10. Rick Vigor starting out of P11, just ahead of Roy Clark in P12. Shane Randall will start at a P13, just ahead of Damien Cross in P14. Glenn Corbett starts at a P15 with James Boardman out of P16. Glenn Boyce will start at a P17 ahead of Robert Crow in P18. P19 going to Jason Chin with Gary Buckland out at P20. Matt McMillan starting out of P21, just ahead of John Gallen in P22. John O'Kiley will start out of P23, just ahead of Mark Houghton in P24. Will Munro will start this race out of P25, just ahead of David Garbutt in P26. Troy Sipple will start out of P27, just ahead of his Quantum Peckies Performance Racing teammate Todd Martin in P28. P29 going to Mark Houghton, just ahead of Braden O'Loughlin in P30. Mark Peck will start at a P31 with Matthew Monday starting at a P32. Jeremy Bush will start at a P33, just ahead of Scott Weston in P34. Jason Dunn starts this race at a P35 with Brett Taylor in 36th. Michael Powell will start at a 37th, just ahead of Richard Barella in P38. And then David Kirby not setting a time, nor Marty Atkins, nor Shane Patterson. So we will remove the qualifying results off screen. And then we will await these drivers to grid up and get ready to go. So Shannon McMillan already on the grid. We wait for Rick Sibrat to get on there as well. Steve Grumley, what can he do here tonight? We know he has the pace about him, former 4-time winner last season. So he will be hoping to get rocking and rolling once again and improve on where he finished last time out in the championship order. Being that, you know, he is someone with some absolutely mega pace, but maybe just sometimes lets his sort of aggressiveness get the best of him, and then he finds himself towards the back of the field. So we only hope for the best for Steve. I mean, he has got great pace about him. We want him to do well, of course, in the series, and we also want him to, you know, be one of those drivers that can just, you know, absolutely dominate at the best of times. We want him to bring the challenge to Paul Hayes. We want him to bring the challenge to Shannon McMillan, because he is someone who could easily win the championship. Will Wilson in the chat as well. Great to have you here, sir. We are just getting all gridded up for race number 2 of the championship. Waiting on a couple of drivers getting onto the grid. Rick Sibra, Mario Reale, James Boardman, Glenn Boyce, Robert Crow, Jason Chin, Gary Buckland, John Gallen, Mark Howard, Braden O'Loughlin, all yet to grid up. I'm not sure if David Kirby, Marty Atkins are in the session or not, but we await for them to hop in. let's just, we'll quickly just bring up the calendar on my end just so I can see when our next race is. So next time out for round 3, we will be at Zolder for 150 kilometers. So a nice, short, sharp race next time out in the Veterans. I'm looking forward to that one. Zolder is one of my favorite tracks in all of world racing, and I think it really does suit itself well to touring cars. Welcome to Stephen Banks as well in the chat. Great to have you here. So we've now got all the drivers on the grid. We focus on the pole sitter, Rick Sibra. Can he get this start absolutely perfected? We wait for the revs to rise. Who is going to tackle the series in round 2? Who will become immortal? And we are go at Jerez here tonight for round 2. It was a great start from Shannon McMillan. Unfortunately for Rick Sibra, he's kind of bogged the start a little bit there. McMillan leads them into turn 1. Steve Grumley finds his way into P2 now, and Paul Hayes is pushing his way up into P4 past Lorne McKee. Looks to be a nice clean start so far from these drivers. No moments to report just yet. We'll turn them back down now. Let's check out the leader though, Shannon McMillan. What a race start he had there. A picture perfect start from him and from Steve. Rick, the big loser out of that one, dropping down to P3. Oh, Shannon just drops out for a moment there, but he's still going. Oh, no, that's all right. That'll just come down to his SDK info. So he'll have to actually change that on his account settings with SDK. Wherever he signed up for the iRacing live timing stuff, he needs to fix his details to be with Frog Leap. So they come round now up towards the chicane. Oh, Shannon just dropping in and out a little bit here. Hopefully we don't have too many connection issues here tonight for some of the drivers, but we'll bring up the timing tower now so you can see where everyone is moving and shaking. I think Daniel Sheriffs might have had a moment. He has. The big man, big 150 man, is dropping spots at the moment. He seems to have had a moment. What could be the implications of this throughout the rest of this race? Will Munro currently up 4 spots off the start into P21. His teammate Robert Crow's dropped a couple of spots as well, so he's just kind of following him around at the moment as they try and chase down John O'Kiley and Jason Chin just ahead of them. You see him come up through turn 1. It's looking nice and tidy so far. Absolutely fantastic to see. I've just realized as well I forgot to change my camera pack to the one that was provided to me absolutely beautifully by Jay from SimSpeed. So big thank you to him for some of his camera angles that he shares with the broadcasters here in Vets. Absolutely massively appreciated from him. But we'll head back up towards the front. Paul Hayes now finds himself in P3. And he's right now just trying to chase down and attack the back of Rick Sibra's Mustang ahead of him. The 111 Nova Simsports car winner in round 1 this season. He had a perfect start. We know, though, he's not going to be here all season, so he's going to have to win as many races as he can to get an absolutely perfected championship finishing slot. As they come through the chicane now. See here just the wheel work from Paul. Absolutely phenomenal to see. He is one of the best operators in the series, and there is a reason why he is winning this championship. You want me to turn the cars up a little? All right. I thought they might have been a little bit too loud, Scott, but we'll turn them up a bit. Hopefully that's a bit better. Johnny as well, congratulating Darren on his 150th race. I'm sorry, yeah, it wasn't Daniel Sheriff, so I apologise. It was Darren Goosey, who's actually still doing pretty well. I got confused there for a moment because of the old mate and son's cars. But yeah, Darren on his 150th, doing very well. He's in the top 10 at the moment, currently in P9, so he is doing absolutely incredibly well. So I apologise for the mistake. I'm just going to turn this down on my end because it is, I'm afraid it's going to be coming through the microphone. So I'll turn it down on my end. We'll turn it up there so you guys can still hear it, but it's not going to be like coming through the microphone at any point. So hopefully that's a bit better in terms of volumes now for the cars. But yeah, Darren Goosey, 150th start in Vets. Just leading around Roy Clark in behind, who got a massive podium last time out on his return to Veterans. He's currently running around at the bottom of the top 10 right now, but he'll be hoping to put a challenge into these guys ahead of him and just really push up the field as best he can. The biggest mover in this race so far appears to be Braden O'Loughlin, who is currently up 6 positions in this race. I'm finally over my COVID, so I can do it properly. Johnny 6 saying track was pretty hard on tyres. I personally didn't feel very comfortable during the race. It is a bit of a tyre killer, is this track. It is also a track that lends itself well to getting into a rhythm. It's a real rhythmic track. If you can get into a rhythm of just sitting on the line and sticking to it throughout the whole race, it'll do you absolute wonders in terms of sort of just keeping that car clean and being comfortable throughout the whole race. Anakin Daly saying Shannon McMillan in first. This is great. Go WKMP. He is on his return into the series. He was not here for round 1, but he's currently doing the business out in P1. Rick has managed to find his way up the order again. Steve Grumley's dropped down a couple of spots, actually. So I apologise for that one. Mark Howard has had a moment. Oh, and he's gone off into the sand trap. Get him a bucket and spade. Hopefully he can get out of there. I'm sorry, he's just dropped out for a moment there. We'll have to head up back to the front of the field, unfortunately, but Mark out in the sand just then. So yeah, Shannon leading the way right now. Rick Sibber's found his way back up into P2 now, so he will. He's just hoping just to sit there. He's got Paul Hayes just really encroaching on the back of him, wanting to put a bit of pressure on him here. But this is going to be a great little 5-way battle for the lead of this race. It's the battle between McMillan, Sibra, Hayes, McKee, and Grumley. Sorry. These guys are all hoping to fight as hard as they can just to get off tracks are pretty tough here too. Not sure if anyone will get DQ'd. Probably not DQ'd, Johnny. They will probably we'll probably actually see quite a few drive-through penalties or stop goes. I know it's a 17 off-track limit for this race. It is a race though that you can, I mean, it gives some real tough off tracks sometimes, but it just means you just have to try and be as clean as possible. Just try and keep it off the curbs, because some of them, they're a bit testy in terms of where the limits are. Anakin saying there's lots of sand here. Happy days. There really is. Sean Benici as well. Let's go Rick. He's doing such a great job right now. P2. He has dropped a spot though off the start. But he will be hoping to come back at Shannon McMillan as best he can right now and reclaim that first position. So this is a 5-way dance right now, ladies and gentlemen, for the lead of this race. None of these guys are going to want to be giving up any spots between them, but they just want to stretch the legs over Mario Reale and the collective behind them, and just really keep the pressure off and keep the battle between the 5 of them pretty much. It is a long race though. It is 200 Ks. We still got 40 odd laps to go. And look at Rick trying to get down the inside of Shannon, but the run just wasn't strong enough there as they come round the long right-hander. Look at him right up the rear end of Shannon McMillan at the moment. He needs to be careful though of Paul Hayes in behind. He is not going to want to give this up too easily. We might head on board with Rick for this lap in the Logitech G cockpit cam. And we'll follow Rick around for a lap. See how he does this. So he wants to try and keep the pressure on Shannon as best he can. Gets up to 6th gear. Hard on the brakes. Clicking all the way down. Oh, big slide from Shannon ahead of him. That was well caught, but this now finds Rick Sibra in P1. I'm sorry, we're going to have to go out of the Logitech G cockpit cam for this one because this battle is actually starting to heat up. That was incredible. What a great catch from Shannon. It's now dropped him out of P1. Rick has now reclaimed the lead of this race. But you can see as well, Steve Grumley putting the pressure on Paul Hayes for P3 right now. And what this is allowing is, it is allowing the rest of the field that was in behind them in that train to catch back up. You see Paul here wanting to cover the inside from Steve Grumley. These guys here have had an intense battle and an intense rivalry last season, not just between the drivers, but between the teams as well, especially when Todd Duggan was in the series. Who's now gone up into split 1. But look at this. Lorne McKee as well, just lurking in the background, wanting to leech these positions as best he can. Of course, to benefit himself. It's not a bad thing that he wants to do that, but Rick can help Shannon with his rear club replacement soon. Go hard, Steve-O. These guys are pushing ultra hard right now. They are not wanting to give this up. Oh, big check up, though, from McMillan. And you see Hayes goes wide. This now promotes Grumley into P3 and McKee up into P4. And look at Reali wanting to get down the inside of Hayes to get into the top 5. These guys are now under an absolute swarm of pressure. Look at the absolute assault of a train behind them that is just lurking, waiting to take advantage of any mistake that happens. You can see Vermi as well, just getting up the inside of Reali, just sneaking on through there. Paul Burns looking to get a move done as well. I mean, these guys are all over the place right now, just trying to pick up any position that they can. I think that might have been James Bourman just trying to sneak into a spot there. But it is absolutely going off. This is a battle for P2 in this race between the top 13 drivers, excluding Rick Sibra out the front. And let's have a look at this gap that is already forming from Rick back to P2. So these guys battling is now allowing Rick just to push a bit further ahead and just kind of lead from the front here. It's similar to what Paul Hayes did last time out. So hopefully these guys can actually reel him in and just have an absolute mega battle with the leader of this race. Although last time out the battle for P2 was just as exciting as this one is appearing to be. Matt Parker, Peanut Butter Boy, is back in P16, but he's up 4 spots. So he started out at P20, he's now up to P16, almost in the top 15 now. I apologise as well, some of the drivers I think just dropping in and out. There's something with the server issues on iRacing recently, especially whenever we go racing. It just drops drivers in and out at random, and it's absolutely wild that it happens. But we might just run through the field a little bit here and just suss up what has been occurring. So Michael Power, who I think might have actually dropped out. Oh no, he's still rolling around. There he is. He is currently at the back of the field, but he's having a couple of connection issues. I don't know why it is with the at the back of the field, but it just occurs sometimes. But I will try and catch whenever drivers at the back of the field. So Michael Power, Mark Howard, Brett Taylor, Matt McMillan, those guys are apparently about a lap down, but they're not actually moving at the moment. But I know that Mark was racing, so I think it might just be happening. So annoying when it happens. Some overlays hate the flickering drivers. Yeah, I don't know why it's been occurring. It's been a reoccurrence the last couple of weeks, Braden, and it is super annoying. I don't know why the servers are like this at the moment. Bloody brute full of Reese's, I'd say. But there are drivers out there who are still rolling around, but regardless, I will head back to who appears to be the furthest person back that is actually loaded in. I think it might be Tom Martin. So below him we have John Gallen, Matt McMillan, Brett Taylor, Mark Howard, Michael Power. Those guys are not actually necessarily out of this race though, because I know Mark actually finishes the race. So I think it's just an issue with people loading in and out of the actual session. Just one of those things where it happens. They're still actually driving around, but they're not actually being loaded into the race. I have set it so it should actually load everyone in, but I don't know why. It must be a server issue from when I actually got the replay. But Tom Martin currently back in P34. Marty Atkins did actually manage to get into this race, and is up 7 positions into P33 right now. Richard Barella, although Marty has just dropped out. Richard Barella, P32 at the moment. Jason Dunn is up into P31. Scott Weston into P30 right now. So he is just trying to make moves and get up towards the front. We know that Scott has got some pace about him. He can drop them off in my... He can drop them off in my room. I will be forever grateful if he does that. Yeah, Scott Weston just following around his former teammate Mark Houghton. We mentioned that these two teams were formed after the disbandment of Taipan. So these guys are still rolling around. So Stephen, so I saved the replay. I changed mine in my settings that it draws a certain amount of cars. I think it might have to do with the fact that it has like 40 odd drivers in the session. Like it has over 40 drivers in the session. So that might be the issue. It might just be my computer. It might not be able to handle this many drivers, although I'm able to do it for other series that I do. So, you know. But yeah, Mark Houghton currently P29. He's down a couple of spots. David Garbett as well, down a couple. Yeah. So I changed it. I did change it. I've changed it a couple of times just to try and fix it up. But it does seem to be a bit better than what it was when I initially got the replay on Thursday, because I do the crew chiefing for my dad. So when I got the replay on Thursday, it was doing it a little bit, especially when I was towards the back of the field, like watching cars towards the back of the field. It just didn't want to have to load in cars up the front. So that might be the issue. I'm not sure. I'm going to have a bit of a play around with it, see if I can fix it up. But David Garbett at the moment, P28. Jeremy Bush, P27 right now. Then we have Matt Monday as well in P26, rolling around in that all-red machine. Braden O'Loughlin, P25 at the moment. Mark Peck, one of our biggest movers in this race, currently up 7 positions in this race, although the biggest mover is Marty Atkins, who is up 8 so far. Roy Clark is currently down 11 spots, so he's had a big moment. You can see the damage on the front of that car. So he's had a big moment there at some point. Shane Randall as well, down 9 spots into P22. Troy Sipples managed to just kind of weave his way through the field, get up to P21, so that's good to see from him. Daniel Sheriffs is down into P20, so he's down 14 spots at the moment after that initial incident. Robert Crow has now found his way back into the top 20, currently P19. Will Munro is up 7 positions right now in P18 of this race, just behind Jason Chin here, who's currently in P17. And then John O'Kiley just a bit further up the road. He finally got the move done on Jason. Finds himself in P16, just behind of Glenn Boyce here. Then we have Gary Buckland as well, the Peanut Butter Cup boy, as mentioned, in P14. James Bourbon for Infinity Motorsport is in P13, with Glenn Corbett in P12, just ahead of him. Rick Vigor currently sitting in P11, and then Damien Cross making up the back end of the top 10 at the moment, just behind the milestone men of 7th of the 7th, 77. I did see a YouTube video on how to set up iRacing for a number of cars, but seems you know all about that anyway. Yeah, I had to do it for my race series that I run called Simsa, because there's so many cars in there, it's multi-class. Yeah, it was having a little bit of trouble just loading them all in, so I had to limit it for some of it, but I think it also depends on the track and how many cars are in there. But yeah, Darren Goosey, the milestone man, P9 at the moment. He's still where he started. Mario Reale dropped a spot down to P8. Peter Verme has found his way up into P7, with Paul Burns up 4 spots in P6. And the whole of the top 5 are where they started this race. So Paul Hayes has found his way back into P5. Lorne McKee is in P4 at the moment. Steve Grumley in P3. Shannon McMillan in P2. And then further up the road is Rick Sibra in P1. Oh, okay. You want me to do it in my positions voice? Well, you see, the positions voice, I only do it for when there's like a lot of positions gained. I'm only doing it so much this time because I wasn't able to do it last time because I had COVID. But I normally save it for when drivers are above 10 positions up from their spot. So that's normally for whenever I save it, but just for you, Will, since you're new around here, I'll do it for you. 7th of the 7th, 77. There you go. I'm like a monkey. Monkey talk. Do the trick. yeah, so I normally save it for whenever drivers are above 10 positions from where they started the race. So pretty much from this point out, if anyone's above 10 spots, they will get the other special treatment. Other than that, then they'll just get the regular jobby. But Rick is currently just leading from the front. Now look at the gap he's already got over Shannon McMillan in P2. I mean, he is just stretching those legs. Hopefully these guys can just kind of bridge that gap and really start to bring the challenge into Rick later on in this race. Because if we have another sort of experience as what we had last time out, then we might be in for a similar outcome. Bloody hell, Matt. You love keeping me clued in on where Gary Buckland is. He is up another spot. But you know who's up? You know who's up 2 more spots? James Boardman. He's up into P11, so he's just trying to get up into the top 10. Poor old Glenn Corbett's dropped a spot from where he was, but he's still rolling around. He's up 3 spots from where he started the race, so we might just suss up any battles that might be happening in this part of the track. I mean, John O'Kiley there, just in a tight, intense battle with Glenn Boyce at the moment. This is all for P15. So this is a nice little tight battle that is starting to form between these guys. We might keep an eye on it here for a little bit. See here, he's just trying to get in nice and close to Glenn. Maybe just force the mistake. See here, Daniel Sheriff's looking to have a bit of a run on Robert Crow. Can he get it done down the inside? Robert's left the door open for him and he just slots on through. So that is another spot up the order that Daniel Sheriffs is now trying to get back through to where he started this race. He's down 13 spots in P19 at the moment. Hayes to 4th now. He is up into 4th. We'll go back to that battle in just a moment. But the current story right now, the current narrative is how far up Daniel Sheriffs can actually get throughout this race. He's never driven a V8 until 2 seasons. He's doing them really well, Brayden. Unbelievable. Absolutely fantastic to see from Jono. He's doing very well. Just up further a little bit here. Look at him putting the pressure on Glenn Boyce right now. And look at this tight little battle with Rick Figure involved. Oh yeah, no, Rick Figure, sorry. I was thinking because it's Rick Sibber up the front, I thought he might have dropped down. I joined you as a GT3 driver. Very, very good to see. Fantastic. But look at this now. Kylie and Vigor get past Boyce. So Boyce is now dropping down the order very fast. Look at Sheriffs as well, trying to get in on the action with Will Munro just ahead of him here. This is intensifying as we go along. See him now coming through. Oh, look at Munro. He's trying to get the move done down the inside of Chin. There might have been a little touch there. And then look at Sheriffs down the straight. Can he get it done to get up another spot? Into the hard corner. Oh, there's been a knock. Oh my God, and he's taken out Chin as well. Unbelievable. That's now put Sheriffs in the wall. Chin in the sand trap too. Will Sheriffs need a tow? No, he's still pulling away, but you can look at that rear end. That has got major damage on it. And that is not what he wants when he's having to fight back through the field. He's just disappeared. I don't think he was able to tow, though. I think Will Munro might have been... I think he might have slowed up just trying to redress the position, but these guys are way too far back, so I think there might be a penalty coming his way. That was an interesting moment for sure. I mean, we could see the pressure building, and I think the gauge just kind of gave out, and that little moment just kind of came of it a little bit there, but not what you want to see. So hopefully there are no ties that have been severed between those guys in terms of friendship or in terms of respect for each other. I'm sure William went and apologised after the race for that moment. But yeah, I expect a penalty to come his way fairly soon. But we will head up back to the front now. Rick Sibra. He's got a 7-second gap over Shannon McMillan, and, well, it is just looking like it's round one all over again, just at a different track in a different country, because the leader is starting to pull away. But McMillan and Grumley are on the chase right now to try and get to the back end of Sibra. He has not dropped out of the race. He's still going. That was just one of those little blipping moments that happens sometimes. But he is just trying to push forward and get back up the front. Burns is now in on this action as well. These guys have just started to pull away from Reali in P7, who's currently about 6 seconds back from the back end of Paul Burns' car. So these guys just trying to sort themselves out a little bit here. You know, just trying to get into the collective and just keep nice and smooth, nice and tight. Oh, that was a big moment from Paul in behind, though. That was massive, and look at him. He's under pressure from Lorne McKee now into the final corner. Lorne might be wanting to get the switch back. Look at Paul Burns as well. Just trying to keep the pressure on him right now. Trying to push forward here. And this battle is intensifying, as mentioned. Oh, but Shannon McMillan's gone off into the sand trap. That's going to drop him a spot, maybe 2, to both McKee and Hayes. And Paul Burns wants to get on it as well. He's lucky he's got the inside line at the next corner. It allows him to defend. But Hazy now up into P3. These guys are swapping and changing positions more than a schoolyard trading cards between the the kids. Sibra is now dropping down and stuff like that. I believe this is one of those moments where people are just loading in and out of the session, unfortunately. I was told by race control, Josh, that there was a moment where everything just kind of drops. So hopefully not. Hopefully that has not occurred, but Shannon is now in behind Paul Burns. I know the other guys are not out of this race. It's just one of those things where they're kind of loading in and out. They kind of just, you see Lorne McKee, he's now back. So we just have to wait for the cars of Hayes and Grumley and Sibra to come back. There we go. Their cars are now loaded back in, but they're once again just dropping back down, unfortunately for them. I know it's a big change on the, it's a bit, the other splits had a one-stop race. I wonder how many they will make it in a one-stop in this race. Yeah, this race should only be a one-stop, Stephen. I'm glad you got that. It wasn't Pokemon reference, Phil. I'm glad you caught that. But yeah, this should be a one-stop race for sure. It's just like last time out. That was only a one-stop race. Oh my god, and it's just we need to be able to pick a driver who's not actually going to drop in this at the moment. Steve Grumley is at the front of the field at the moment, but he's not actually leading this race. Of course, Paul Hayes, Rick Sibra, their cars are not actually loaded in right now, and it's just a massive blip that is happening right now in this session. I don't know why it is like this. Just seems like, and it shouldn't be drivers that are around each other. Here's the peanut butter cups. It shouldn't be drivers that are actually around each other that are actually blipping in and out. It should be drivers that are on the other end of the field. So this is like a server issue when it's drivers that are around each other that are blipping in and out. Especially when I'm focusing on those drivers, it shouldn't be like if I'm focusing at the front of the field, it should not be these drivers that are actually dropping in and out. It should be drivers that are at the rear end of the grid because they're not around these cars. So it's a server issue. It's not a issue of how many cars I'm able to load in. If it was that, it would be the cars I'm not focusing on. So I don't know why, but this has been a problem the last 2 weeks. I don't know if it's because of who actually runs the server, or if it's if it's up to the Phil Baldock is somehow responsible for the glitching. It's all Dave Baldock's fault. We all know this. It is his fault, obviously. It's no one else's. It's just Dave Baldock. He runs the iRacing service. He'll get us all banned. That's what it is. My dad works for iRacing. He'll get you banned. Just a classic play of that. So I know it's a little bit wishy-washy and a little bit it's a little bit epileptic at the moment. Hopefully it can just sort itself out here and we don't have too much dropping in and out, but it is a little bit annoying to have this happen, but these sorts of things just occur sometimes. Roy Clark, so he had a moment early on. Where's his car? Let's have a look. Where's his car? Roy. He's dropping in and out, unfortunately. I don't know if he's actually pulled up or if he's still going. I know he had that little incident earlier. He had a little bit of a knock. I'm just waiting for his car to load back in, and it's not, unfortunately. So, yeah. It's... I hate server issues. CHK down the back. Can you explain what you mean by down the back, please? So, I think Warboys the other night teleported from Conrod straight to the pits in the East Coast. What? Yeah, it's and again, I think it's... check down the back. Yeah, we are. So, I just did then. So, Roy is not actually loaded into the session at the moment. I'm trying to see if he actually is able to come back or if he's actually out. But we are going to check down the back. So, Jason Dunn is the last car to actually be loaded in right now. Roy Clark, is he in there? I don't think he is. So Jason's still rolling around. We'll hit on to Michael Power. Is he in there? Yeah, see? And it's doing it up the front now. Now I'm at the back of the field. So this is how it should happen if I'm at the back. Not around here. Mark Howard is out on track. So we'll stick with Mark. We'll check him out. So, yeah, Mark Howard currently P32. He's dropped a couple of spots. Todd Martin is in P31 at the moment. Glenn Boyce rolling around in P30. He's down 13 spots from where he started this. Brett Taylor, though, is up 7 positions in this race. So he's doing very well at the moment for Valve. Great to see. Great to have you here as well, Jason. Very good to see. I'm going to assume that that's you in the race. So you're not doing too bad at the moment. You're still where you started, actually. Wouldn't miss it. Oh, that's nice. That warms my heart. Yeah, you're still around about where you started, although other drivers dropping in and out is changing those statistics at the moment. But we hope that it's going to fix itself. Scott Weston apparently went off track, but he's still rolling around. I think he might have just gotten a bit of an off track there. Mate, I mean, I know I offer a pretty good time, but that's up to you to decide which is better. Scott Weston, though, at the moment, he's up 12 positions in this race. The biggest mover, though, Richard Barella, up 17 positions in this race. It does. Honestly, it just does. I need to be careful when I go outside. I might blow away with all the tickets on me. But yeah, Barella is the biggest mover in this race. Marty Atkins as well is up 15 positions so far. Matty Monday, Brandon O'Loughlin, Mark Peck. These guys are just moving through the field together at the moment. Just in behind Robert Crow right now. So they are just trying to push on through. Robert is now past where he started this race. He's up to P14. He's up 4 spots so far. So good to see from him. He, from the mistake that his teammate made earlier on, he has now been able to take advantage of that and just move on through the field. So, which is good to see for him. Shane Randall as well. He's dropped a spot, but he's still just rolling around at the moment. Unsure if Shane's actually part of a team or not, but I think that was the same livery that Mark Dyer was running at the end of last season, I'm pretty sure. So maybe those guys are in a team together, or if he is a privateer, maybe someone could try and sign him up if he is. Unsure, though, obviously. Troy Sipple up 14 positions in this race. He's now up into P13, so he's starting to find his footing once again in Split 2 of Vets, which is it's good to see, actually, that he's finally got that pace back about him, and he's really just starting to put it in and give a good little challenge to these guys. Oh, that's fantastic, Will. I love it. It was your belated birthday present to Robbie. Don't say that. It sounds like then you deliberately did it. Robert Crowe has entered the pit lane. So one of the first drivers to jump into the pits in this race. At least for a scheduled stop. Although Jason Chin, Glenn Corbett, Daniel Sheriffs, Glenn Boyce, those guys have all come in. Roy Clark came in a bit early, actually. He came in on lap 12. So that might have been what happened to Roy. Maybe he was just in the pits and he was fixing his car from that incident. So Robert Crowe, Marty Atkins, Will Munro in the pits now as well. He did have a drive-through, which is why he dropped down the order. So just to confirm, he has already been through the lane once, but it was for a drive-through penalty. So he will be coming in now for his scheduled stop. As mentioned, Atkins and Crowe in the pits as well. And it's whether any of these front guys are going to come in. And you look at this, Sibra is already starting to lap drivers at the front of the field now. So Sheriffs, Corbett and Boyce, those guys have all now dropped a lap to the leader. So he is just going to be wanting to keep himself cool, calm and collected and keep this gap. It's 8.5 seconds now back to Paul Hayes in P2 of this race. And I once again apologise for the amount of of epilepsy that's happening. Clark, car 21, down 21 positions. I mean, he's only down 18 at the moment now, actually. But there's maybe there's a little bit of conspiracy happening now here tonight, Jason. I mean, it really just is. It's having an epileptic dance party tonight, and you just kind of got to let it do its thing. I mean, there's not much I can do about it, unfortunately, apart from turning it off. And I don't want to do that, though, because then you lose where you might be or where your favourite driver might be. So Steve Brumley comes into the lane now, so he jumps into the pits, maybe hoping to get an advantage, maybe undercut some of the drivers ahead of him. Paul Hayes, Lorne McKee, Paul Burns, these guys are all yet to come in, so we'll wait to see them come in the pits. Jason Dunn apparently had an incident. Maybe you could give us a bit of an update, Jason. What happened? Must have been the Vindaloo it ate during the week. Well, maybe it was. Maybe it had one too many booners. Who knows? But yeah, Jason appears to have a bit of damage on the front of that car. So hopefully he's able just to keep on rocking and rolling out there. But look at this battle right now. This is for P2 of this race. Oh, little catch there from Paul, from Lorne McKee. Sorry, that was a great catch from him. We see these guys have actually now gotten past Will Munro in P37, but these guys do still need a pit, so he should actually get his lap back. Oh, it's a different Jason. Okay. All right, sorry about that. I must apologise. And I mean, it would be easier if your name on here wasn't Fart2767, because then I could actually confirm which Jason you are. I kind of just have to make up my mind on which one you are, but yeah, all good. Being called worse. Yeah, true. That's true. Jason Fewens got it. Like Bulldog? Oh my god, the Bulldog hate is real from Will. Split one driver. Okay, very good. I'm glad then the split one drivers are giving the split two boys. I'm like Batman. No one really knows. Yeah, you're the Caped Crusader of veterans. Master Fewens. Sibra has come into the pits now as well as Paul Burns and Shannon McMillan. Damien Cross in there too, but Paul Hayes has stayed out on track right now. I'll take that title. Fart, man. Bruce Fart. Farts to Wayne. That's what it is. Farts to Wayne. So Hayes and McKee still out on track. These guys are yet to come in. The milestone man, Darren Goosey, is still rolling around. He's yet to come into the pits. Sibra, though, actually had quite a long pit stop. His pit stop was about a minute long. Although I think McMillan is still in there. Yeah, McMillan's still in there. So Sibra taking about a minute long pit stop. Very interesting. But I digress. We'll head back up to the front. And sorry, Fart, I'll cut my fingers off. Wow. Who is the leading pitted driver? It is currently... let's have a look. Rick's... It should be Rick Sibra. Why has he dropped? He's dropped out of the session at the moment. I think Rick should be the leading driver. Okay, let's quickly go up to the front of the field here. Paul Burns is coming into the pits as he comes through. Oh, Paul was just changing gears then. That's a bit naughty from Paul. You're not supposed to do that. That gains you extra speed in the pits. That's an interesting decision from Paul, because if race control catches that, he's going to get a penalty, because you're not supposed to do that in the pits. It gets you an unfair advantage and does not actually get you a slowdown. So that's very interesting, but we'll head up back to the front to Darren Goosey, the leader of this race. But he does need to pit. So I believe the driver who should be at the front of the drivers who have pit, it should be Roy Clark, although Shannon McMillan is also apparently ahead of him, but it's epileptic at the moment. So Shannon, it says that he's ahead of Roy. No, sorry, no, it's not Roy. It should be Rick Sibber, sorry. Rick Sibber is not actually out there at the moment. He's not loading in for some reason. You can, but it depends on the track. Darren Goosey has now... Oh, no, he hasn't. Sorry, it said he'd gone into the lane, but he hadn't. This epileptic timing tower is something else, I must say. Yeah, so there is a risk of it, though. You can still get done for speeding in the lane. You can, but it doesn't always happen. It also depends on the actual track and how, like, some tracks are stricter than others on that. But it's not... It's against the regs. You're not supposed to do it. So he might be getting a penalty. Darren Goosey into the pits now as well as Vermi. So there's Vigor. He's still out there. Troy Sipple as well. Some people do take the chance, honestly. I mean, I know I've taken the chance sometimes in certain officials and stuff like that, and some tracks just don't allow you to do it, unfortunately. But I know that some people in officials do them, some people in special events do them, just to get a little bit of an advantage. It's better to only do it a little bit, not do it a lot, because the more you do it, the more likely you are actually to get a penalty. So, yeah, it's better. Although in vets, better not to do it at all, because you can get a penalty for that. So, it's just one of those things to be careful of. So I believe everyone should have come into the pits by now. I'm correct. But of course, everyone is kind of just epilepticing, or they're seizuring in and out of the timing tower, unfortunately. James seems to actually have a solid connection, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, but fortunately for him, he seems to not actually be dropping in and out of this race, so we might stick with him just to wait for it all to even out, and so we can get confirmation of who was actually at the front of the field. So, again, I'm sorry about all of these problems with the data and with the people who are dropping in and out of this race. It is a shame, of course. Shannon McMillan has actually now dropped. He's dropped spots to Darren Goosey, Peter Vermi, and Damien Cross. Those guys have been in the pits. Damien Cross had a 2-second faster pit lane travel time than what McMillan did. And he had a 3-second faster pit stop time. Darren Goosey's dropping. I don't think he's... Oh, no, he is actually at the front. Darren Goosey is legitimately at the front of this field. His pit lane travel time, though, was 6.59 seconds, so I don't know if that's actually keeping his time properly. He's currently, apparently, in P2, but Paul Burns... This is what is confusing when this stuff happens. It just confuses the data and what I can talk about. Lorne McKee now coming in as well. It's absolutely just... It's annoying. And I must apologise, everyone watching. I apologise that this is happening. And this is actually a thing in this race. I don't understand why. I'm going to deep dive and try and figure this out and fix this before next time out, because I want to be able to give you guys the best viewing experience that you can, and also give you the most data that I can as well, and the most accurate data that I can. Because, you know, when you have stuff like this, it doesn't allow you to do that, and it makes for a poor viewing experience. So, Yeah, I thought so, Braden. I thought Rick was still in the lead still, so I'm kind of just waiting for him to load back in so then I can actually click on him and watch him from the front. I do apologize that we can't actually see the very front of the field right now. I don't know why this is doing this, but thanks, Jason. Appreciate it. Thank you, mate. Yes, it was. This was Darren's 150th race. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. We're doing our best. Yeah, see, now Rick has actually loaded back into the timing tower, but he's not actually on track, so we're kind of just waiting for it to happen, but... Alright, we need to pick a driver who's not actually dropping in and out. I'm just going to pick James, because he seems to actually have a solid connection. So does Mario, and so does Shannon. So we might just stick with these blokes for a bit. So yeah, so Shannon McMillan, it says he's in P4 right now. I don't know if that's entirely correct, but we hope it is, because that would actually be pretty good for him if he's actually currently in this position. Or if the guys ahead of him, I believe the guys ahead of him are actually ahead of him 4 positions. So I don't know if Darren's actual pit stop though was actually counted the whole time. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it, mate. Appreciate it. So we'll do our best for the second half of this race. Hopefully it can fix itself so we can get as much info and as much action as possible on screen. But yeah, Shannon at the moment, he's currently trying to follow Damien Cross, Peter Verme, and Darren Goosey as well, the big milestone man that we've been speaking about the whole time around the circuit at the moment. So you see these guys just here. Yeah, well, now the top 5 have now suddenly reloaded back in, but they're still not being 100% correct. So we'll jump back here. Rob Crow having a good race so far. P17, he's up a spot from where he started the race as well, so he's doing quite well. Shane Randall, he's dropped a couple of spots, but he is still pushing fairly hard. Troy Sipple is still up 12 positions in this race, although it is putting him up even higher now. The top 5 are dropping in and out. Probably microwaving nuggets and blew up his router. I maintain this is the doings of Bulldog. Yeah, I remember that happened to me one time, actually. We had our router on top of the microwave, and yeah, it actually just fried the router. You know, again, and then now I never put my router near my microwave because the radioactive particles inside the microwave can screw up your whole router. So there's a Top Gear top tip for you right there. Don't put your router near the microwave or under the wheel of your car, because then you'll run over it and destroy it. What this is also doing is it's also giving Gary Buckland, Peanut Butter Cup boy, illegal positions that he has not actually gained because the top 5 are not loading in. So that'll make Matty Parker fairly happy that Buckland is apparently, in air quotes, in the top 10. But realistically he's not, because there are actually 5 drivers ahead of him who have not loaded in. Oven baked fryer is much healthier than fried. Air fried router is even healthier than that. So, and a lot nicer too. A lot more crisp on it. A bit dry though, yeah. Oh, wow. Wow. Hilarious. That's funny. I can't believe they did this, Stephen. Wow. Not what you want. Yeah, I think the worst my router's gotten it is, I think someone, because I have an Ethernet cable that runs to my PC, so I have a solid connection. And so I think either someone tripped over the Ethernet cable or the dog grabbed the cables that were hanging down and the thing just fell on the floor. But yeah. It's not gotten wet yet, luckily for me, so. But Buckland's doing pretty well at the moment. Roy Clark as well, just trying to make a bit of a comeback right now. And just take these positions with a grain of salt, because the top 5 are loading in and out of the timing tower, so you kind of just need to add 5 positions to every single spot that's on the tower at the moment. That's where these guys are. So realistically, James Boardman is actually in P10 at the moment. So he's done very well, actually, to get up to P10 from where he started this race. Shannon McMillan is realistically in P9 at the moment as well. Damien Cross is in P8. Peter Verme in P7. And then Darren Goosey is on the edge of the top 5 in P6. So that's where these guys currently sit. I had no internet for like 3 weeks last year. Tech finally came out and it was just switched off. Wow. I would have Will, but she never took a bath, damn it. I blame my roommate who doesn't exist. Wow. Hilarious. You gotta love that. Well, we'll sit back with James Boardman, who is in a relative P10 right now. Oh, Rick Sibra seems to have loaded back in, but now he's gone again. Oh, wait, come on. There we go. Up, yep. Just jumping in and out. So Rick is actually still leading this race, just to confirm. He's just having loading issues. So we really need to pick a battle where there's drivers who are actually not loading in and out. See if we can find them. Matt Monday, Braden O'Loughlin. These guys are having a nice little battle at the moment. Maybe we'll sit with them for a little bit. Until it all smooths out. I think yes. So, Matty, of course, new colour scheme on that fishy car this season. We saw it last time out, an all red look on that car. It is very bright and very noticeable with the chrome piranha on the side of it. I think this is quite a little tasty number that he's brought himself here for season 16. I must say, I mean, it's it's still that classic fishy shape. But it's now, they've changed it up a bit with these new colour combinations that some of these drivers are providing with themselves. I mean, I know Robbie's, it looks good. I know Robbie's running like an all white with a bit of like maroon on there. Scotty Pye from Supercars was calling blowing up at his Foxtel not working. It was also just turned off. Wow. Yeah, and I know that Blake Delaney, who is also in Fishy, who runs in other Supercars series, he has the same style that Matt's is now, but instead of all red, his is all white. It's like a pearl white. It looks really nice. So a heap of different color combos now coming out of Fishy, and I'm all for it. I mean, they used to kind of just run the same style with a slightly different color, or they all run the same color, where now they're starting to put a little bit more of their personality into the liveries, or as Scott Gamble likes to say, liveries. It's liveries, Scott, not liveries. It's liveries, just to confirm. In their liveries. Glad he is a driver and not tech sport. I mean, I love Scotty. Scotty's my favorite driver in the Supercars field, but he does come from Adelaide, unfortunately. So maybe that's an issue or something. I don't know, but that's all jokes. It's all jokes. I have nothing against people from Adelaide, I promise. But yeah, I really like all these different personalities and now actually coming out in the changes that some of these liveries are actually getting. I mean, even the Frog Leap car of Braden's car now. So he used to have the same livery that Jono's running, which is the blue. We'll sit with Jono. So this was the livery, or at least similar to this livery, that Braden was running last season, and now he's changed it up and he's actually got the red on there. I think it looks really, really good, and I love the 3 different color combinations that is on the grid at the moment for Frog Leap in Split 2, of the white that Rick Sibra's running, the red that Braden's running, and then the blue that Jono's running. I think it's a really good collective combination of those guys from that team, and I think they're a very smart looking outfit right now. I think as well the new sort of layout that WKMP have taken. I know last season they had a very similar look to the Walkinshaw cars. Yeah, they look really good too, Will. Yeah, they last season they had like the real Walkinshaw layout on their cars. They've kind of changed it up a little bit this season, and all their combinations look really nice. I know that Richard runs that orange. Michael Power's color, the Dayglow yellow, looks sick. I really like Michael's car. It looks really good. And then as well as Scott Gamble mentioned him before, with his recent move to WKMP, he has that like sort of like navy blue with like the white on it. I think it looks really, really smart. I'm not sure if Hoff still runs the chrome red. If Anakin's still in the chat, he can tell me. I'm not particularly a big fan of the chrome red, but if Hoff likes it, then he likes it. But yeah, I think a flat red would actually look a little bit nicer. Yeah, I think WKMP, their last two liveries have looked really good. As well as, and it's a shame it's not in the field anymore, but the Taipan livery from last season, the last like 2 seasons, was excellent. It was so good. That is the only downside to the creation of these 2 new teams, is that we can't see those Taipan liveries anymore. Is it only gloss? Because it was chrome last season, the last 2 seasons, and I'm not really a big fan of like major chrome all over the car. I think it's a little bit too much. But I don't know if he's got like that like nice flat or like gloss red, I think it will actually look really good. I'll have to check out the Split 1 broadcast just to see if he's still running the chrome or not. But yeah, WKMP, those guys have got good liveries on them. The new East West Racing car, obviously, Scott Weston, Craig Healy, and I think it's Marty Hansen is the other driver now. This car is looking really smart, really, really nice. I remember Pecky used to come to town with some pretty dope liveries. I think the current Pecky car is the best one they've ever had. I'm not really a massive fan personally, and everyone's opinion is different. I'm not really a big fan of like art looking cars, like which has like really intricate like graphics on it too much. I prefer like a classic sort of like simple is almost better livery, where like you use the shapes that you have to better the livery. That's just me personally, but I know everyone's a bit different. We need to pick someone who's not dropping in and out. Speaking of Peggy's, we'll go to their livery. So, yeah, I think this era of the Quantum Pecky's performance version of this livery, I think is actually one of the best they've ever had. I think it's nice, it's clean, and it's not overpowering or overbearing on its imagery on there, and I think it just kind of works really well together. And again, I know some people are different, and I know some people enjoy certain things more than others. That's just me personally. The new Old Mate and Sons cars, I think this is actually a nice change from what they used to have. What they used to have was really nice, but this is like now, and it's kind of similar to like they went from all black cars, or majority black cars, to majority white cars. It's like similar to like the change in the overlays going from majority black to majority white. I think it's actually a nice change and a nice decision that they made in their design process to now run an all white or a majority white livery. I think it looks really smart, really nice. The one thing I would say though to change is make the Padgian logo black, because it will stand out a lot better on that white background. Because from afar, I mean, you can see it now when it goes past. Oh, but in saying that, oh, a little bit of commentator's curse on the peanut butter cup boy. Damien Cross has the nicest livery. Let's check out Damien's livery, if he's actually loaded into the session. I know he wasn't here. Let's just see if I can find him on that list. We'll have to wait for him to come back. I don't mind that livery. I think it's all right. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. I do think the best. There's another one I was looking for, but. Rick Vigor's car as well. I mean, this has got like a nice little classic look to it, a real classic color combo. I know their team is called Angry Birds Racing, and I guess they have to have the Angry Birds on there somewhere, so, but that's fair enough. But I think this here, it's not egregious either. I think it looks really good. It is a good way to show it off. He was actually showing off exactly what I was talking about. The side of the car, you can see there, you can kind of hardly read the Padgian logo, so if it was in black, you would be able to read it a lot better on the broadcast, and I think it would actually stand out really nicely, especially over that real white, that real bright white, and that bright red that's on there. So that's the only thing I would change. I think other than that, the rest of the livery looks great, and I think it's a great contrast to what they used to have. So yeah, that's the only change I would make to that one. I think yeah, Rick Vigors, I think that's what I call me missus. Oh, that's good. The Hypersonic Racing car. These cars have not changed in terms of their livery layout for this season, but I know that Glenn Corbett is actually now running like the fluoro pink. So where the orange is on Mario's car, Glenn's gone from the fluoro pink, and I think it looks a lot nicer than kind of like the all black that he was running, because it actually stands out a lot better now, especially if we were to run like a night race. I know the Infinity cars, although James is not actually loading in. Let me find another Infinity driver. Oh, he just loaded in. But yeah, Infinity cars, these went through a bit of a change sort of at the early point of last season. I have to give a crying voice for most positions lost. I don't know if I can do that. That might be taking it a little bit too far. I don't know if he's actually realised this, Anakin, but when I do the positions gain thing, it's not my complete impression of your dad's voice, but it is kind of, it's a little bit close. It's not really though. It's more like my manly impression. But yeah, the Infinity liveries, these changed early on last season. They're all 4 cars now run the teal. We were running gold. They've now changed a little bit. The layouts have changed just slightly in terms of sort of placement of some of the shapes and stuff like that. Obviously, we're still running Alco Holder since James, he owns Alco Holder, so he sponsors the cars, and he's one of our drivers, so he sponsors the cars as the main sponsor. So this livery hasn't changed since last season. It may not change until next season at this stage now. It depends. Depends what we can come up with as well in terms of a change. Oh, finally, the leaders are back in here. Rick Sibra. So I mentioned him before. He's got the white on his Frog Leap car, and I think this looks excellent. This is a great color combo. The white and black, that little bit of red in there. I think it looks absolutely fantastic, and to be at the front in this car, exceptional. It's exceptional, honestly. The voice you use while you barbecue. Yep, exactly. It's the voice I use while I'm barbecuing. Exactly. Oh, yeah, turn the steak. So, yeah, Rick leading from the front at the moment. He's still doing very, very well right now. And, yeah, exactly, Will. You called it. Exactly. Oh, there's 7 minutes to go on that. Yeah, finally Damien Cross is now loaded back in. And as I say that, he loads back out again. We'll see as Jason loaded in. He has. So, Jason as well. So, he runs a slightly different layout on his fishy livery than the other one. So, he has the GT stripes on his car. And he has kind of like a different sort of layout to how his colours are layered. So he runs, obviously the main part of the car is white, and then he has that nice like lime green across the bottom. This is incredibly clean. I really like this car, and it makes the Piranha stand out, which is good. It's really, really good for their branding. I think this is a great livery, and I think it is. It's one of the best in the field, I would say, actually, especially compared to the other Piranhas, although I know that only Matt Monday is the other Piranha out there. But yeah, I think this is one of the best ones. So yeah, who else there has a different livery we haven't actually talked about yet? Brett Taylor. He's currently got a bit of an all-black look going on this season, so not really much to talk about. I think it's clean, it's crisp. You know, I think it looks pretty good for an all-black car. Paul Burns, is he going to load in? I really like this car, although I do think it just needs some headlight colouring. He's not loading in, unfortunately, so we might just have to set up the front with Rick, who is now back in. We have got 10 laps to go. This has really just gone from a commentary to a conversation about liveries, so... But Rick is still leading from the front. He's led this race the majority of the way. He's got one hell of a gap right now. I mean, he's got 23 seconds back to Lorne McKee, who I'm not even sure exactly where Lorne is actually in the field comparatively to Rick. I would also say these new Accelerate Sim Racing liveries, my favorite out of the ones that are in Split 2 is actually the blue one. I prefer the blue over the green, but that's just a personal preference. Hoffa's had the best of runs in the first 2 races this season. Yeah, I think he needs to come back down to Split 2 and just have a bit of a better run. I think Shane Randall just running the stock standard Ford livery. Again, maybe he's maybe he's just privateering it or what, I'm not sure. Who else is out there that we can see? Not even sure. Because everyone's jumping in and out, it's a bit hard to kind of pick and choose who you want to. Yeah, I think split 2. Hoff is at the. I think he has pace. Sorry, Hoff has got pace. Obviously to make it in split 1, but I think he's actually more competitive in split 2. I've gone quiet. What do you mean I've gone quiet? I had a cough for a moment. Sure you just haven't turned it down by accident? My levels are looking fine, dear sir. Yeah, I think Hoff. When he was in split 2 last season, obviously he had a couple of races where he was off the pace just slightly, or he had a bit of bad luck. But he's actually quite competitive. He's very competitive for split 2, and I think he'd actually have a lot more fun racing in split 2 just based on how competitive he was and how he was racing with the fast guys almost every race. But of course, that comes down to, he pre-qualified to get into split 1, so it meant he was able to get those quality times fast enough to get into split 1. But I think, yeah, I think he would maybe have a bit more fun in split 2. I think it's probably the more competitive split out of all 3 in terms of how close the pace is across the whole field. And the driving is excellent. I mean, obviously there are some little mistakes some people make, but that's what makes it exciting. And I think the big races where we have big moments, like the last time we went to Belle Isle, that race looked incredible. It looked so fun to race. It looked like an absolute ball of a time. Even though I don't like Belle Isle personally, but it just looked like a good, fun, competitive race across the whole board. So it was great to see, for everyone, I guess you could say. So I'm just awaiting to have this all fix itself. Just quickly as well. So Rick Sibber is P1, Steve Grumley P2, Paul Hayes P3, Paul Burns P4, and then Darren Goosey in P5, although he is not really going anywhere at the moment. Those guys are still blipping in and out. So Sibra is still leading the way. He's leading the way by quite a fair bit. I guess we're going to have to wait till the end of the race just to get the actual run and lay of the land of where people are actually finishing if this doesn't fix itself before the end of the race. So that's kind of what we're waiting on as Sibra just blips in and out once again. Maybe it's the Spanish internet that is provided to us from Jerez. Maybe that's the problem. Who knows? We need to pick someone who's actually going to stay in. Let's have a look for a little bit of battle or something. Will Munro is currently trying to chase down Glenn Corbett. Oh, look at this. This looks like a nice little tasty battle out the back. There's about 5 drivers involved in this one for the battle for 27th position in this race. That's right, Will. The fuel that he is able to save will go down in history. I mean, you talk about the most fuel-efficient machines in the world. You think of Tesla. You think of a Prius. You think of any other electric or hybrid vehicle, but none of them even come close to the amount of fuel efficiency that Andrew Hoffman is able to produce out of a V8 supercar. Like, it is insane that he can save so much fuel in a car that burns so much fuel. It's immense. It is insane the amount of fuel saving that he can do over the course of a race. I mean, some of his plays that he's done. Exactly, Anakin. It was perfect of how he was able to save fuel. Just a shame that he got caught off. Hybrid Hoff, exactly. It's just a shame that he got caught up in a bit of a moment at the, during the race. But he was able to save fuel like an absolute superstar. There, see? We'll have to see, actually. We need to be able to, if only we could keep some stats of who's actually the best fuel savers in the whole field. This is actually a good chance to get a good shot of Glenn Corbett's car, actually. So, yeah, this is what I was talking about, the new pink on that car. for a period of time, this shade of pink was my favorite color. It looks absolutely immense. I still have a soft spot for it. Glenn is going to come into the pits of this race, although he's not exceeded the limit actually of incidents, so he's not actually having a drive through. This will be a legitimate pit stop for him. So he will come in, he will do a stop. Marty Atkins rolling around. This is what I was mentioning, the blue livery version of this one. Off the Chuck Norris of fuel saving. Andrew Offman. Oh, Borsman comes in with another massive off-track nickname. Of course, last time he was around, he mentioned Lorne McKee, as in L-A-W-N, when he went off at Daytona. I think Borsman has to go down as the king of nicknames at this stage. I mean, he's just absolutely railed Hoff with a with a new nickname there. I think we could probably call Will punt row at this stage. He's given quite a few punts in his time. I recall back to Long Beach and even earlier in this race as well. So hopefully he doesn't give Mark Houghton a bit of a punterino here. We'll see if he can get the move done nice and clean. He's just trying to get into that top 30 before the end of this race. He's got about 6 laps to do it. Everyone is on the lead lap. Or not everyone, but the majority of the field is on the lead lap right now. Only 4 drivers, I believe, have actually been lapped by the front of the field. So it's good to see that the relative pace is still up there and the leader's not actually lapping every single driver, which is absolutely fantastic to see. So William will be hoping to get the move done on Houghton here. Not quite yet, though. He's not quite close enough. So this battle is starting to form. We can see as well Todd Martin, Quantum Peak Performance Racing. He's just starting to stretch the legs a little bit. Wants to guarantee a top 20 finish in this race. For not only himself, but also for his team as well. I know that Troy Sipple is a bit further ahead in the field. He's kind of creeping around the top 10 mark of this race. So it's good to see from him. He's found his footing. He found his pace once again. But still, a lot of these drivers just blipping in and out. One thing we will want to try and fix before round 3, hopefully. Maybe there'll be a hot fix that comes into iRacing and might actually help sort this out before the next round. Who knows, though. But look at this. Munro and Houghton, these guys are still battling hard. I mean, they're racing for sheep stations right now for P29 in this race. So this isn't a battle for a top 10. This isn't a battle for the win. It's a battle for P29, and these guys are racing just as hard as everybody else. And it's absolutely fantastic to see right now from both of these guys for this position in this race. You see here just the pressure that's being applied right now. Oh, a bit of a wiggle of the rear of the car from Houghton. He managed to catch it, though, quite nicely there. He's beginning to run out of rear tyres, and the pressure could be becoming insurmountable for him to be able to survive. He is pushing super hard to try and get past Will. Look at this. Nice little switch back down the inside. Munro gets it done at the final corner to come on to lap 41 of this race. He's going to cover the inside from Houghton now. Some tremendous racing from both of these drivers. Oh, look at them, 2 wide through turn 1. Neither of these guys want to give any spots up. They're not giving an inch, wanting to go for the switchback, but Munro has the inside line for the next corner as they race around up towards the sharp right. And this battle is far from over. As mentioned, this is a battle for a spot in the top 30 in this race. These guys are just trying to etch closer and closer to a top 30 finishing position. Or we might just go up and check out some of the other battles that might be forming further up in the field. Monday, O'Loughlin, Barella and Weston, all these guys are involved in a battle right now. These guys not wanting to give anything up. Has Houghton just dropped a spot? I think he has. I think, oh, that's big damage on the side of that car. I reckon he might have actually run off into the sand trap. So Houghton has now lost a spot to Marty Atkins, who will hope to chase down Will Munro now, the man who got the move done on Marty's teammate. Tom Martin just a bit further ahead. Look at this. Daniel Sheriffs, Jeremy Bush, these guys battling all out here for a good finishing position inside the top 30. Not wanting to give anything up in this race. Jason Chin just a little bit further up the field. Mark Howard as well, just around the corner. He's up 4 spots. He's doing quite well. He started at a P29. He's been sitting around that P25 range majority of the race, so he's been doing very well just to mitigate those mistakes. There are battles everywhere, Anakin. I mean, it is that people are just racing for sheep stations right now. Boyce and Kylie, Boyce and Clark, and Taylor. These guys are all battling nice and hard for a top 20 spot. As mentioned, Barella, Weston, O'Loughlin, Monday. These guys battling as well. Rob Crow, Gary Buckland. Oh, that's a big moment from... Oh, and off the track. That was well avoided, though. There's a big lock-up from Michael Power in behind as well. Michael Power out of sync at the moment. He is down to P38. He's coming into the lane. But that now gives Rob Crow another position in this race. Troy Sybil trying to put the pressure on Shane Randall just ahead of him at the moment. Look at this, wanting to creep up the inside. And he gets it done. That was a nice move from Troy there. Doing very well at the moment. He wants to try and chase down Rick Vigor, who's just up the road from him. So these guys battling nice and hard right now. Paul Hayes and Paul Burns. Steve Grumley. These guys are in the mix for a P2 finish. The gap has shrunken up to P1. There's about 5 seconds between P2 and P1 now. We didn't get to talk about it earlier, but these were 3 of the liveries that I wanted to speak of. Obviously, Nova Simsports. This livery's been one of my favorites since I started commentating in vets. I do think, though, it is maybe time for a bit of an upgrade. Maybe they change the colors of the logo to match the car, or change the colors of the car to match the logo. I think it'll look really clean if they're able to do that. The SLS car ahead of him, Steve Grumley, looks incredibly poignant and nice and clean as well. I want to buy shares in the Hoff, earn some of that money back I wasted on the Bridge Bulldog tried to sell me. Wow. And then, yeah, Paul Burns Racing, that car as well. That has got a new livery on it this season. And I think, as I mentioned, the only thing that that car needs is maybe some black headlight colors on there. I think that would really just spice it up and really just give us a bit of a new look to it, I think. But look at this big battle forming between Hayes and Grumley. These guys are not wanting to give anything up, although they've just disappeared off the screen for a moment. We might head back up. There's the leader. That was the gap, although they have blipped out once again, but that's the kind of pressure he's under right now. He's got Dave Garbuck in Garbutt in behind. Do I have word of the day toilet paper? No, I don't, Jason. I just like to try and bring a little bit of class to Split 2 sometimes. I know it's hard, but I try and do it as best I can. Look at that. There's the gap back to P2. These guys are on a mission right now to chase down Sibra. They've only got about 2 laps to do it and put the pressure on the leader, who wants to try and take a win here in Split 2. Grumley knows what it's like to win in vets. He won 4 races last season. He's just trying to push hard. I know it is, Jason, but, you know, you got to do the best you can. Oh, look at this. Paul Burns wanting to put the pressure on Hayes. Can't quite get there, though, to get the move done. But this battle is not over yet, folks. It is intensifying lap after lap. There is only 1 3/4 laps left of this race. Sibra has managed to stretch the legs just a little bit to get the gap out to 6.3 seconds. So he's got... Oh, that's a big slide from Grumley! And that now promotes Paul Hayes into P2, Paul Burns into P3. That was a massive mistake from Grumley there. Thanks, Anakin. Appreciate it, mate. Thank you so much. I actually like doing it on my own. It's allows me to kind of focus on what I'm talking about. Not that I don't like doing it with another person, but it's a nice way for me to be able to just talk without having to worry about cutting someone off. I can just kind of talk about what I think about at the time or what comes to me, and I don't have to worry about kind of, just interrupting someone. But Daryl Eastlake sounded like... Yeah, still talking about commentary. Don't worry, Jason. Although I do like to think about that. The chat is almost like my second commentator because I bounce off what you guys say to me. No, Jason. In that sense, I like saying it. I like doing it with another person. Don't get me wrong in what you're referring to. But in commentary terms, yeah, 27 backseat commentators currently. So, and it's fantastic to see. So yeah, you guys, I bounce off you guys. I'm sort of like the host of this show, and you guys are the you guys are the provider of the info or of the jokes, or you guys provide me with things to talk about, or even just a thought-provoking prospect that might give me something to talk about as well. So it's good, and I appreciate it. Without you guys, this would be an incredibly boring broadcast. I think you guys really just bring the life to it and help give me a gauge of what I'm talking about or what you're enjoying and stuff like that. Rick is doing absolutely phenomenally, Stephen. He is absolutely phenomenal at this drive at the moment. The gap has dropped just slightly. He's doing an incredibly great job so far. And he is just trying to cruise on home right now to the end of this race. I believe as well Paul Hayes was actually given a post-race penalty for his incident in the pits where he was going up and down gears. I'm not 100% sure though on the grounds of that. That'll be one to check with the stewards for, and also on the actual championship standings once they've been updated. So Rick Sibra though, after an incredible drive, he started on pole, managed to muck up the start, but he managed to fight back and get to the front of the field. It was an absolutely incredible drive from the Frog Leap driver to take victory out at Jerez here today for round 2. Paul Hayes will cross the line and in P2 here today, with Paul Burns crossing the line in P3. Darren Goosey will come home in P4 tonight, with Steve Grumley, after a mistake made, will cross the line in P5. Damien Cross will cross in P6. That's a bit of a tongue twister. Peter Verme out of P7. James Boardman managed to get his way up into P8. Shannon McMillan crosses the line in P9. Rick Vigor as well in P10. He makes up the top 10. Troy Sipple just didn't make it, but he did manage to get up 16 positions in this race. Couple of drivers just jumping around. I think some of the drivers might have actually jumped in and out of the top 10 when I was calling it there, unfortunately. But we will get the actual results once the race is done and dusted. Shane Randall there did a very good job to come home in what I believe is the top 15 of this race. Did an incredible job. But the man that we're focusing on, Rick Sibra, I mean, what a drive. What an incredible drive from this man. He did incredibly well. We will bring up our race results. So Rick Sibra takes home, or provisional race results, I should say, sorry. Rick Sibra comes home out of P1 for Frog Leap Juice Racing, just ahead of Paul Hayes. for Nova Simsports, and then Paul Burns for PB Racing here tonight, making up the podium. Darren Goosey will finish out of P4, just ahead of Stephen Grumley out of P5 here tonight. Damien Cross will finish this race in P6, ahead of Peter Verme in P7, with James Boardman for Infinity Motorsport out of P8. Shannon McMillan will finish this race for WKMP Simsports out of P9, with Lorne McKee making up the top 10 for Accelerate Sim Racing. Mario Reale finishes this race out of Hypersonic Racing for Rick Vigor in P12. Troy Sipple out of P13, and then Shane Randall finishing in P14. Robert Crow will make up the top 15 there for Infinity Motorsport, with Mark Peck finishing out of P16. Gary Buckland, Peanut Butter Cup boy, finishes out of P17, just ahead of Matthew Monday in P18. P19 tonight going to Braden O'Loughlin, just ahead of Richard Barella, making up the top 20, with Scott Weston finishing in P21. Brett Taylor will finish tonight's race out of P22, just ahead of Roy Clark in P23. And then Glenn Boyce out of P24, just ahead of Mark Howard in P25. John O'Kiley will finish this race tonight out of P26, just ahead of Todd Martin out of P27, with Jason Chin out of P28 for Fishy Motorsport. Will Munro, with a great comeback after an early penalty, manages to get his way back into the top 30 and finishes out of P29 for Infinity Motorsport. Matt McMillan will finish out of P30 ahead of Mark Houghton, David Garbuck, Marty Atkins, Glenn Corbett, Daniel Sheriffs, Jason Junn, Jeremy Bush, and Michael Power finishing it out for P38. John Gallen was down 9 laps, and then David Kirby, Shane Patterson, those guys did not race. Big thank you to our race control and safety car driver, Ash Barella and Josh Drage, for Split 2 as well. We will see if we have got anyone in the green room for a little interview here tonight from the podium. We've got Paul Hayes, who finished in P2, so we'll drag him in. Paul, big congratulations to you, sir, on crossing the line tonight in P2. I believe you did receive a post-race penalty, though, if I'm not mistaken, didn't you, for what happened in the pits, or was that kind of rectified?
No, I got a penalty.
Okay. Yeah.
It was something I didn't understand. I did change gears in the pits and to gain an advantage, and I didn't know that it wasn't a rule. So something I've learnt, and it's a lesson learnt, and I accept that. And still had a good race.
I mean, you had a mega run to. You started out of P5, managed to get your way up into the top 3, and then of course Steve had that little moment. You managed to sneak past him, get into the top 2 of the race. Has it been confirmed where you have actually have you actually officially finished the race in P2 still, even with the penalty, or has it actually dropped you some spots?
No, that'll drop me to 5th,
Okay.
5th in the race. So
Okay.
yeah, I thought I'd get on and explain it, and
That's
that's something I learned. I didn't read that in the rules, and I didn't understand that it was. So I know you do get a little advantage out of it. Probably didn't change much, but spoken to a lot of people since, and they've all said, "Oh yeah, I've tried that, I've done that." And
Yeah.
as you said yourself in the broadcast, you've had a crack at it. And,
Yeah.
so something we need to put to bed. I spoke to Mark Duggan about it, and he said, yeah, actually, in V8s they have to stay in first gear. So in the real world, so it's something from now on we'll have to do.
Oh, well, I guess lessons learned. I mean, big congratulations to you still, though. Still finishing in the top 5. That's still good for your championship hopes, I guess, even though you did mention you'd missed the second half of the season. But to even come home in P2, I mean, it's still good bragging rights saying, hey, I was still the second fastest driver and the second cleanest driver technically on track on the day. So big congrats to you, I guess.
Yeah, look, it was a good race. It was a great race, and I got caught up behind Shannon in those early laps, and Rick, well done to Rick. He got away in those first few laps, and I got caught behind Shannon, and he held me up. And once I cleared, Shannon had a little loft, which I had to dodge him, and 4 or 5 people got through me. So then I had to work pretty hard on getting through everybody. And once I got clear air, I was actually, had pretty similar pace. So I would have liked to have been able to get through him earlier in the race and race with Rick. I thought we would have had a ding-dong battle, but well done to Rick, and what a great drive he had.
I mean, it was absolutely immense, and I think, I'm looking forward to next week out at Zolder. As mentioned, it's a great track, and I think it's going to lend itself well to some good battles forming. Maybe even a safety car here and there, hopefully, since there are a couple of spots with some close walls. But big congratulations to you tonight, I guess, on getting still into P5, even with a penalty, and again finishing on track in P2, I think is still something to be proud of as well.
Yeah, and the race control notified us with, I think, 12 laps to go that I'd had a penalty for changing gears in the pits. So that gave me a bit of lease of life to drive a little bit harder for those last 10 laps. So I was watching the times of what I needed to beat people to get positions up the field. And so I had a lot of fun in the last 10 laps driving it at 10 tenths. So it was good fun.
Oh, mate, very good. Thanks for coming in and talk to me as well. Just giving me a bit
Yep.
of insight on that. Good luck for next week out at Zolder, and hopefully you can come home on the podium officially once again.
Yeah, thanks, mate. See you later.
Thanks, mate. Oh, well, great there to get some insight from Paul. I don't think we're going to have any of our other drivers, unfortunately, off the podium come and have a chat to us at the moment. But yeah, as you guys saying in the chat, great that he had some honesty about it. And that he was, no safety cars this week. Unfortunately, the safety car driver continuously drops in and out of the session. So I think it might be time that we try and find a new safety car driver who can actually commit to being in the session the whole time and who might not be able to drop in and out as often. But I think that's gonna be up to the organisers and going to be up to the race control organisers as well. But thank you all for joining me once again for Split 2 action here tonight. Fantastic to see. Everyone in the chat, everyone having a chat with me as well throughout the race. Hope you enjoyed tonight's race as well. Big thank you to Paul Hayes as well, just coming to rectify the situation and just give us some insight on what actually happened and that he actually understands that the rule is actually in place now. So good that he has learnt from the mistake and is willing to make a change on that one. So it's really good to see. So massive thank you to everyone. Thank you to all of our supporters and our sponsors out there. Logitech G, Player One Sim Gear, Parramatta Izuzu Ute, and Nova Simsports. This has been round 2 of the V8 Veterans here at Circuit de Jerez and Galnedale. Thank you everyone for viewing. We look forward to seeing you next time out for round 3 at Zolder, which is an incredible circuit out in Belgium. Look forward to seeing that one. It's called the home of DDM, but it's not in Germany, so it's a little bit questionable on that name. But thank you all for joining me. I've been Hamish Munro. This has been the V8 Veterans Season 16 Split 2 Round 2 at Circuit de Jerez. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I hope to see you next time out at Zolder for round 3. Bye for now.